It's Tuesday, November 23rd. Thanksgiving's coming up, and it got me thinking about the whole, giving thanks and um, appreciating what we have, and living with gratitude. And I'd watched some of Schitt's Creek again over the weekend, and if you haven't seen Schitt's Creek, I highly recommend it. Um, the first couple of seasons, uh, it is sort of a caricature of these fish out of water, rich people that have landed in a small town because they lost all their money. Um, and although not so much in the pilot, but it very much becomes about these townspeople who accept these uh, outrageous people who don't want to be there, um, and accept them into their town and try to help them. And by the end of the second season, and I don't know if you know in the story of production, the timeline of production, if they just didn't know if they were going to get renewed for a third season, because the end of the second season feels very much like if the season or the series ended there. There's a character arc that you can follow, and a sort of a little bit of resolution that's happening at the end of the second season. But then when they come back for the third season and beyond, that's when it really, really takes off. It gets a little more outrageous, but it also gets a lot more heartfelt. And it's this sort of this idea that what if we lived in a place or in a world where everyone accepted each other and everyone tried to help each other and really embodied what a community spirit is supposed to be. And I just thought, that's what we should have. That's where we should be. That's yeah, I want to live like that. And then I thought, well, gosh, having a YouTube channel that's basically saying, it's starting out as an insult to one particular person, but it's really, more about the hypocrisy of the current GOP and right wing in this country. And I just thought, okay, maybe I should be creating more positive content. But at the same time, I'm thinking, that whole idea of living in a culture like that and in a society like that is great, but it's not the one we have right now. So you can't, rose-colored glasses and Pollyanna your way into thinking, well, that's not the way it is, but I'll just do it this way. Because you can't, the complacency with the other side is giving it a tacit approval, and I can't do that. Because we're at a time in the nation's history where one political party is just straight up trying to destroy the country. And there's two sort of factions of that. There's Republicans who are elected officials, and particularly when we're talking about the federal government. There aren't many examples of Republican politicians who have anything resembling the best interest of their constituents or the country in mind. It is not at all about a difference in ideology going on Capitol Hill. They're not having those discussions about fiscal conservatism and blah blah. It's just the Republicans don't want the Democrats to get any credit, so they're just not going to help. They're digging their heels in. They've been doing this, since Clinton. They've just gotten much more organized about it, and they've gotten much better at their messaging to try to get the populace to agree with them and not look at them as big fucking feet stomping babies who are just trying to hold on to power. So the politicians are a disgrace, and there's a large number of them that not only shouldn't be holding public office for the rest of their lives, but should likely be in jail. The insurrectionists, the Josh Hawleys, the whole crowd of them, the Lauren Boeberts. But so the politicians are just a detriment to the country. But the people that vote for them, the Republican voters, fall into a bunch of different camps. There's just the regular old deplorables that actually want, the divisiveness of Trump and live for the snark and the slander and don't really care if government does anything, because I think in their minds government doesn't do anything anyway. So you might as well be making fun of it and dismantling it from the inside, I guess. They don't have the intellectual capacity or curiosity to actually learn anything about how government works and how government plays in our daily lives, and they just don't care. And some of those really are just stick it to the libs, show those dirty socialists a thing or two. They think it's fun. Which I don't understand that mentality at all, why people think it's fun to make other people's lives harder. I'll never understand that. Then there's the ones that are that just believe that they can't ever vote for a Democrat because they've listened to the story and they've bought the whole messaging that the do nothing Democrats are tax and spend. And although the under Democratic leadership, the deficit has gone down every administration for the last 45 years, whereas in the Republican administrations, the deficit has ballooned. So I don't buy that the argument of a voter being a fiscal conservative, and that's why they're voting for the Republicans. The Republicans give away more money than the Democrats do. The Democrats just want to bring more in to balance things out. So by giving away more money, I mean the Republicans give it away to corporations and rich people by reducing their taxes. And the Democrats, the Democrats want to get those taxes back so we can afford social programs that actually help people. And the Republicans don't want to have anything to do with that. The Republican politicians, the voters, want the social economic policies that the Democrats are trying to enact, but are stuck in this messaging loop that the Democrats are bad and we shouldn't support them. And then there's the whole crowd, and these are the ones that really burn my britches. Are the ones that I don't want to talk about politics. I don't really get into politics. I don't really understand politics. They think that those of us on the left who are passionate about the policies and the ideas of what our government can do, and passionate about our disdain for Trump and the people that support Trump, and think that we're the reasons that people are tearing apart friendships and families and all over politics. And it's bullshit, because it's not over politics. It's over morality, and supporting. You just can't be someone who honestly says, I care and value other people, and say, yes, what President Trump does has my support. And you don't get to parse it out. I hate what he says, but I like what he stands for. What does he stand for? Because he stands for the things that he says. There's just no parsing out that, hate the man, like the message, because the message is awful. So it's the ones that say, I don't really get into politics, or I don't think politics is important, or I don't really understand politics. And they don't understand the level of fucking privilege it takes to say that. Because what they're saying is, it doesn't affect me, so I don't care. And usually it's coming from, white cisgendered straight people who have never had, their rights legislated against them. It's always surprising when it comes from women because their healthcare is still trying to get legislated against them. So that one I can never quite fully understand. But when someone says, I don't really understand politics, or I don't really like politics, and someone who has, strong convictions tries to explain to them why something is important, and they continue to disagree, or they continue to say, I'm still not going to say that, supporting Trump is bad. They've lost the thread of what their whole message was about, respecting other people, and they're saying that we're the ones being divisive when they refuse to listen and understand why there's so much passion on one side or the other. And when you just sort of chalk it all up and throw away when they dismiss what is a logical argument, and they refuse to accept that there's a deeper way of thinking about this, that they've ever considered. And I don't know if it's tapping into some sort of shame that they haven't, or they get defensive about the tolerant left being intolerant of my beliefs. And I think the message that they're not getting is that we're intolerant of intolerance. Believe whatever you want, don't let it hurt other people. When your beliefs hurt other people, then that's where the respect for the belief ends. And I just don't think people are getting that message. So as we're going into this whole Thanksgiving holiday, and people are going to spend time with friends and family, and there may not be agreement, I think that it's important to not just let it go. Don't let, the racist uncle get away with it. Don't just, sit on your hands and, step on your own lips to keep the peace. I think it's valuable to voice your opinion. And if you let it fester, it will come out in anger. But if you approach it logically and take the emotion out of it, you can have those conversations. And I think the basis of it is understanding and appreciating that this is about more than just a conversation between you and me. This is about, what do we think, what do we feel, what do we want for the country and for the people that live in it. And I think when you talk about the actual issues and you get rid of the discussion about left or right, you'll find a lot of things are similar. People who don't necessarily, get into politics will rely on talking points about, I'm a fiscal conservative, and so then it's about explaining to them, what does that mean to you? Well, that's not explaining, that's a question. But what does fiscal conservatism mean to you? Because the deficit is tripled under Donald Trump. The deficit is continually increased under Republican leaders, and the budgets are balanced under, or at least close to balanced, and deficits are reduced under Democrats. Those are just stats that you can't argue, although people will try to argue them. And look the stuff up when you're having a conversation. Let's look it up. Let's find a source on the internet. Use, it's hard to find a common ground source that's that people will agree to accept, even though the truth is the truth. Try BBC. Try something that's not a US, or even Reuters. Try something that's not what one side or the other may consider politically motivated. But my point is, have the conversations, and don't be afraid to do it. And I think it's our job to not let them get away with it, because the quieter we are, the more they're going to try to take from us.